665 949. For Sober October, we're talking to the author of the book Finding Your Sober Bubble, Darren Taylor from Broughton near Brig. And I'm also asking today whether your relationship with alcohol has changed during lockdown. Darren's with us on the programme now. Darren, good morning.
Good morning, Melvyn. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Take me back, and your sort of introduction to alcohol, I assume, would have taken you back to your student days, would it?
Oh, way before. I think alcohol in society is that prevalent these days. I was brought up, with it being normalised, as many people. I was from Scunthorpe, which is a steel town, and obviously, the everyday life there with alcohol involved was normal. So, the circumstances were way before the old student days. So, yeah.
And was there alcohol? Was it sort of generally in the family? I mean, I'm thinking back to my early days. To me, it's relatively recent that families have bottles of wine, cans of beer around. It used to be going to the pub. What was the family life like?
Yeah, I think for me it was. My dad liked to drink, and as with many of my friends and their parents, the dad went to the pub on a Saturday. My brothers were quite a bit older than me, so they was 10 years older than me, 10 and 12 years older than me, and it was, they was just getting into the going out scene, when they was, 18, 20 and things like that. So it was, for me being 10 years younger, it was normalised.
So was it the question then that, okay, your brothers, let's say that they're older, did you drink a bit with your brothers? That became part of the, oh well, he's okay, he can have a half of that and he can have a pint of that and whatever when you were younger?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure I can remember it like that, but I'm sure that was the case. And then when it got to me being 14, 15, 16, yeah, it just went from there, and it's just everywhere you look these days as well. So,
And was that causing you a problem in your teens then?
no, it didn't cause me a problem. I think it was, by just going out and starting going out from an early age. It was more when I got to be, my professional life, that drinking really began to take a hold. And I mean, there's lots of ways to look at alcohol. I mean, you don't have to be classified as an alcoholic to have a drink problem. And I certainly, for me in my career, I was out traveling Europe, and drinking was just the norm.
That was the social outlet in some respects. I suppose if you're travelling and you're staying in hotels, it's what do you do of an evening? You go down to the bar, I suppose.
Definitely, yeah, and it got to me with me where I would, if I went into a hotel, the first thing I would do was like, oh, I've had a hard day, I've been really busy, stressed out with work, I've had a hell of a lot on, so I would go to the bar to wind down, and again, it these habits that you get into become the norm.
And did it start to affect your work then?
No, it never affected my work. I think with me, because of the job that I was doing, that was the kind of culture. Where it started to affect me was because I was away from home quite a lot. I would come back and, not perhaps separate the two. And it's at that point when you think, I seem to be drinking all the time.
So instead of, like, when you're out in the hotels, nothing else to do, I'll go to the bar. When you're back at home, you come in from a day's work at home and you would probably still go to the bar at home, if you like.
Yeah, it becomes a habitual thing. So and it's separating that out. And sometimes it's difficult to do it. And I fell into that trap, along with many others in society, of, alcohol is the norm for everything. You've only got to look at births, marriages, and deaths, and it's there.
And what happened to you? Did somebody say something to you at some point, or did you suddenly think, hang on, what am I doing? I'm drinking X amount each day. I'm not having a break from it.
Both, to be honest. obviously my wife, she noticed. And had said on numerous occasions, you're drinking too much, you need to stop. And the way that it is with alcohol, when it's kind of getting its grip into you, you deny that. And I denied that, and I've not got a problem. It's everybody else.
Mm.
I drink like people that I know, like my friends, like everyone else. But what I wasn't owning up to was the fact that I was drinking a hell of a lot more, and my on-off switch was broken.
You mentioned earlier on that you don't have to be an alcoholic to have an alcohol problem. Were you classed as an alcoholic?
No. And again, that's up for debate. Really, the perception of alcohol in society is such that when people tend to think of an alcoholic, most people or a lot of people think of the guy that's on the street that can't function, he can't work, he can't do anything until he's had his daily fix. When in reality, there's a lot of people that you'll have heard the term functioning alcoholic. There's a lot of people out there that are designated in that kind of way.
Mm.
And I have a thing where alcoholism in society is somewhat misunderstood. It's misconstrued, and I think that's why I wrote the book in the first place. That's how it started. But yeah, to be classified as something, it can stigmatise people if you think, right, well, you're an alcoholic, because they think, oh my God, I'm an alcoholic. What? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm drinking far too much. So.
At its worst, how much would you have been drinking in a day?
With me, I was binge drinking. So, I mean, I could quite easily go out of an evening or an afternoon. Start on the beer, and then at the worst, I think I've drank 3 bottles of wine in an evening. Which was preceded by quite a few beers.
Did you need to drink in the morning? Would you drink as soon as you got up? Anything like that?
No, it wasn't a need. I mean, I have woke up on numerous occasions still intoxicated from the night before,
Hmm.
and been inclined to think, well, I may as well just carry on, because you're still drunk. You're in that kind of, you know, you, your whole reality has shifted, and it's so easy to fall into that trap and think, well, no one's going to know, because you're already drunk, so you're not coherent with what's going on.
Obviously, you've written the book to hopefully help others, but where did you go to for help?
I've drawn on quite a lot of my experiences, to be honest. I mean, I've tried with AA, which it wasn't for me. But one of the biggest things that helped me was sort of form of therapy called NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. I don't know whether you're familiar with that,
No.
but it's basically retraining the thoughts of your brain to a more positive outlook. To say, for example, it's not I wish I didn't drink, or I wish I could stop drinking. It's I don't drink. And it sounds simple, but once you get that mind frame and that mindset, then it really, really helps.
I've spoken to people who've had alcohol issues, and once they've stopped the alcohol, they won't have another drink, and because they fear that they might go back to needing it again. Has that been the same sort of case for you, that you don't drink at all now?
Yeah, I don't drink at all now. And I think because I was a binge drinker, once I started, I was okay until I started. But once I did start, I would struggle to stop. So for me now, I'm exactly like that. I don't drink at all.
Is there a fear that if you did, you'd go back on the drink big time?
Yeah, I think there is, to be honest. There's always that fear, but everybody's story is different.
Mm.
There's a lot of people that want to cut down, and they do that successfully. If you're in AA, for example, AA will say to you, you don't drink, you don't go anywhere near anything that looks, smells, tastes anything remotely like alcohol. Whereas another approach is to obviously cut down. And my approach is to stop completely, but that doesn't stop me enjoying alcohol-free beer.
No, indeed. I mean, finding your sober bubble, what sort of areas do you cover within your book?
Well, it's a tale of some. It's more than a tale of someone that just got sober, because I look back through hidden emotions and life circumstances to understand what made me binge drink in the first place. And then within that as well, I've developed what I call my alcohol booze scale. So, rather than just be somebody that abuses alcohol or somebody that's dependent, I think that there's a whole lot more levels to it. So I cover that in the book. And then it's also a guide onto how people can, whether they're already sober, whether they're sober curious or whatever, I'm hoping that people can find inspiration and a lot of sobriety tips to help them, whether they want to cut down, whether they want to, stop completely, whether they're at the end of the tether or whether they're just thinking about it.
And you're supporting Macmillan Cancer Research with the book as well, aren't you?
I'm supporting the charity, yeah, because there's two things in my life, two negative aspects. One is alcohol abuse through binge drinking, and the other is losing my mum to cancer at a relatively young age, at a really rapid rate, which came out of the blue, which affected me. So I wrote the book to help other people that have fell into the trap of alcohol. And also because it's Sober October, and I thought, well, I'd like to be able to give something back to that as well. So, I've got this perfect opportunity with the book, and the profits I can give to charity.
Fantastic. Now, I know you've got a website. Is that the best place to go to find out details of the book?
Yeah, the website is theunioflife.com. And on there's an author page where it's got more information about the book, and there's a link to buy the book, which is on Amazon. So yeah, definitely, it's quite a busy month for me at the minute.
I'm sure it is. Darren, it's lovely chatting with you. I wish you well for the future, and thanks for joining us on the programme. So if you'd like more details of Darren's book, and go onto the website to get more information as well, www.theunioflife.com. That's www.theunioflife.com. You'll find all the details about Darren, and also details of how you can get hold of a copy of the book as well.
If you're doing something creative, share it with BBC Upload.
And the bride's mother will come over and say,